Narcissist parents wanted me to trade houses with them because I got a slightly better one, and then literally stole my air conditioners when I refused to give them money, by EntitledParents throwaway. I'm going to start this off by saying that if you have a house and don't have cameras, get cameras. I have some now. But I should have gotten them sooner. I live in a pretty typical manufactured home in Arizona. My parents also live in one just a few streets over. Despite how close we are, I'm VLC because they are just bad people. They treated me okay as a kid. But things changed as soon as I was in my late teens. I was expected to do more and pay my way as soon as I finished high school. That was fair, I was an adult by then after all. But my parents wanted a lot more in rent than what I'd have to pay to get my own apartment. I'd have had next to nothing left of my monthly paycheck if I'd given them what they wanted. So I refused to give them more than a fair amount, plus a share in utilities. And I started buying my own food as well. My father openly said this was not good enough, and my parents actually filed official paperwork to evict me when I refused to cater to their demands. I left home and got an apartment with my best friend. 5 years later and I bought my own house in a neighborhood not far from my parents. It's just a manufactured home on a small property. But it was so damn cheap that I couldn't turn it down. And my monthly mortgage isn't bad either. I even moved my best friend in to help me cover the bills. We were already used to living in the same space. And the house gave us much more room. I may even let another friend move in to get some more rent money for the mortgage because we've got one room that's actually left unused right now since the house is a 3-bedroom. My parents though somehow didn't like my independence from them. Did they want me to fail or something? I dunno. But the incident that caused the VLC was when they demanded I trade houses with them. Yes, you read that correctly. They actually wanted to trade. Their manufactured home is smaller and older than mine, and has one less bedroom. And their yard is smaller too. Not that either of us have any grass. It is Arizona after all. When they first saw my place, they looked pissed. After a couple more visits my father actually said it wasn't fair that I was doing better than them. And I was rubbing my nicer house in their faces. It's just an old manufactured home in one of the hottest states in the US. Seriously. What's to brag about? But I guess having something even slightly better than what my parents had irked them. And as I've already said, they actually demanded we trade houses because of it. My friend who lives with me literally fell onto the couch laughing when they said that. And I couldn't help but join in. My father said it was not funny. And to give him what he wants. When I recovered my composure, I said he and my mother were not entitled to my house, or anything I own for that matter. And then told them to get the fuck out. After that we barely spoke. And then the pandemic hit. Didn't really change my life much. I liked the peace and quiet, and my friend knows to leave me alone most of the time. My father however got laid off. And he struggled to find another job. He ended up working in the local Marto Walls for half a year before getting a better paying job. I did get a kick out of seeing him there when I was shopping for groceries. But as much as I hate him, I'm not gonna call him a bad employee. He actually did fine. But during that time he and my mother kept calling me and asking for money. And I know what y'all are thinking. Don't lend them anything. They didn't want loans. They wanted handouts. Why? Because they raised me and I owed them. I said if they didn't want the cost of raising a kid, they shouldn't have had one. A few weeks ago though my mother called me begging for money because their dinosaur of a window AC unit finally crapped out. I told them I was not giving them anything, and they were too cheap to replace that old AC unit for a long time. So I wasn't gonna buy them a new one. My mother then complained about how I have two in my house, and the least I could do is give them one. I then said that maybe if she and my father weren't always pissing away their money on beer and MJ all the time, they'd have the money to buy another AC. Then I said I wasn't giving them one of mine or any money. End of story. Only it wasn't the end of the story. A few days later I came home from work to find my house had been broken into. My front door locks were drilled out, and both of my window AC units were gone. Nothing else was stolen, but they went out of their way to make a huge mess for some stupid reason. Probably to make it look like a typical robbery or something. I knew it had to have been my parents and called the police. I told police that I heavily suspected my parents of the theft because they act entitled to my stuff, even though I'm a grown man that doesn't live with them. I went with police to my parents' house, and sure enough they had both my AC units going in their windows. When confronted my parents, they obviously denied the theft. then claimed they already owned the AC units. But statements from their neighbors said otherwise. But my parents still denied the theft. I'd bought both AC units used online years ago, which means I had no receipts for them. So I figured my only option was to look for witnesses in my own neighborhood. And as luck would have it, a neighbor across the street has security cameras. And the edge of one of them caught just enough to see my parents showing up in my father's truck. My father could be seen walking with a cordless power drill in hand. And a few minutes later they came back to the truck with my AC units. Then went back in to ransack the place, I'm guessing. With this evidence in hand, police had cause to arrest my parents. At first both of them acted like they'd done nothing wrong. But I convinced police to let me do the talking. I said they could either return the AC units to my home and clean up the mess they made, or I'd let the police arrest them both right there. They'd already stolen from me, lied to police, trespassed, vandalized my house, broke my front door locks, and there was video evidence of what they'd done. If I pressed charges, they were both going to jail for sure. My parents looked deflated, then asked for a moment to talk with each other in their bedroom. I heard a lot of shouting from both of them, and I could hear my mother yelling that my father was an idiot. And he was trying to blame me in turn. After about 5 minutes of that they came back out looking even more deflated and said they'll return the AC units and stop bothering me for money if I didn't press charges. I said they were gonna clean up the mess in my house and buy new locks for my front door as well. And then I wanted written apologies from both of them on top of it. They begrudgingly agreed and even got a police escort back to my house. My father was forced to put the AC units back in my windows, and then left my mother to clean up the huge mess they made while he went out and bought replacement locks for my front door. He was gone about an hour and came back with a new stainless steel lock set to replace the knob and deadbolt. Then he had to help my mother finish cleaning. During this time I let the two cops just sit and watch them while drinking soda. They said it was very entertaining. After everything was cleaned up I gave my parents each a piece of paper and a pencil, then told them to write out apologies to me for what they'd done. My father looked especially pissed and said I was treating him like a child. I said he was acting like one, and never stopped treating me as a child either. This was just me holding him accountable. And I could have sent him to jail, but I felt like this was better for teaching him a lesson. He then kind of snorted and started writing. My mother wrote out a good apology. But my father's was pretty half-assed and passive-aggressive. But I didn't care. It seemed to kill him a little inside to have to do it. And when he was done he left without speaking to me. My mother said she was sorry, and she'd leave me alone, then followed after him. The two cops said they thought the whole thing was hilarious, and then thanked me for giving them an excuse to take a break while on the job before leaving. Not long after I shelled out to get some cameras for the exterior of my house. So if someone tries to break in again, I'll get it on video. I only have 2 cameras, but added a couple more fake ones that look real enough just to scare people off. I haven't heard a peep from my parents. But their next door neighbor told me they went and bought a new AC unit. Guess they had the money for one after all. Makes me wonder how high they were when they thought it was a good idea to steal from me. Maybe having lean pockets for a while will teach them. Then again, they are who they are after all. Edit. I've been questioned on how I got a house when I was only 23 years old. To start off with, the place was really cheap. In Arizona you can find old manufactured homes on tiny properties for a very doable amount. I also kept and still have pretty good credit. The house and land were only $5,500, the house was a little bit of a fixer-upper too. But I was able to put $10,000 on a down payment, and I was able to get approved for a loan for the rest. The house is no prize, and by now it's at least 30 years old. But it's home. And once I have it paid off, I'll feel much more financially secure. My mom and dad are being investigated for using my social security number and identity to buy things, so my mom has taken me off of her insurance, by user Coca-Cola. I'm going to be sick and in excruciating pain beginning tonight and for the next week, but even though I was extremely depressed at first after going no contact with both of my parents, I've actually been feeling better until recently. I've started working and I am supposed to be starting college next month and moving into an apartment with my cousin sometime between next month and August. But when my mom found out that I won't be dropping charges and I'm cooperating with the police, she told us she was taking me off of her insurance. That means I will have to stop seeing my therapist and I cannot see the doctor I planned on seeing about how much pain I'm in on my period. Every month I'm in so much pain it feels like I'm being burned on the inside. I throw up, I feel nauseous, I'm weak, the pain makes me fall asleep, the pain wakes me up, It's been this way since I was 12. My mom would tell me that everyone is in pain on their period and that I was being dramatic. My mom wouldn't even allow me to take over-the-counter painkillers at first. She said I needed to depend on God for relief. She would rub my back and pray for me, but she said that if I had faith, then by Jesus' stripes I would be healed. She took me to the doctor one time for my period. The doctor said I had cysts on my ovaries, especially on the right ovary. After that, she allowed me to take painkillers, but she would complain about how much they cost, and how expensive the multiple amounts of pads, tissue, feminine wipes and other products she had to buy were because my period is so heavy. A while ago when I was still living with my mom, my aunt visited and ended up taking me to the hospital because of how much pain I was in. My mom came and they wanted to give me Percocet, but my mom rejected it. After I came out to my mom, she would that God was punishing me for being gay when I was on my period and that was why I was in pain. Sometimes she would raise her eyebrows and smugly say that cramps get better after a woman has had a baby, as a way to encourage me to marry a man and have children. She would say that that was trying to remind me that that was what was intended for women. My aunt took me to see a doctor after I moved in with her, but that doctor said that menstrual pain is normal and medication for it could lead to infertility. When I told her that I would rather not have children than be in excruciating pain every month, she said I was too young to make that decision. My aunt scheduled an appointment with another doctor, but now my mom has taken me off of her insurance, so I can't afford to see a doctor. That also means I can't see my therapist anymore. When my mom told us she was taking me off of her insurance, my aunt told her that she was literally going to be causing her child pain. My mom said that that is a sign from God and that she has been vindicated by God and started speaking in tongues, and we hung up. She also said, "Honor thy mother and father and thy days shall be long," or however the verse goes. I'm sorry if that comes off disrespectfully, but the pain has started because my period will probably be on tomorrow and it's awful and I'm in severe pain. But I took her quoting that verse to mean, like, if you are saying my days won't be long because I'm not honoring my parents, are you saying you are hoping my days will be short because you are taking me off of your insurance? She also is refusing to help me with her financial information for college, so I don't know whether or not I can go to college after all. My credit is messed up. I've started working, but I go through multiple packs of pads every month on my period. I have to get pads, painkillers, and other things. So I'm going to have to walk to and from work for 45 minutes to an hour every day this week so that I can afford to buy what I need for my period. And I'm going to be sick, weak, and in pain at work. I know she is hoping this will punish me, but what she has done and what she has said only make me more sure that going no contact with them and pressing charges is the right thing to do. My ex-mill wanted me to have a hysterectomy, by user alpha_28. I was 29 and pregnant with my now 5yo twin sons. She had 5 babies back to back that she had to get stitched up to carry her last 2 pregnancies safely. I was scheduled for a C-section and she told me to have a hysterectomy while I was there. She said she had one at my age too, so it's only natural I should be getting one. So far I don't intend to have any more kids. But I like my uterus. So I'm good. Update: Mom wants monthly $600 USD sent to her in Thailand, by user The Missing Chair. Last time I posted I wasn't sure what to do or how to respond to my mom. Original post can be found in my profile history thing if you so choose. I've blocked her from everything. We sent her $3,500 USD to help with a down payment and asked her to send us details/documents before buying the car. We knew that this money we will never see, but we did it anyway so long as she agreed to let us see documents and decide on what car. To prevent from getting scammed best as possible. Someone she's friends with offered to sell her his car. Didn't transfer names to my mom. Just took the money for the down and expects monthly payments. Mom did this without sending us any paperwork. Just assumed we would be happy to send her money for the next 5 years now that she's already bought a car. I told her no, that's not what we discussed. She threw guilt trips and insults at me, so I blocked her. She wanted, on top of the $3,500 USD sent to her, $200 for the car, $100 for gas, $300 for her to share with her community each month. We said we would not fund her and her friends. She insulted me some more, saying that she's my mother as a reason. And that she can do what she wants when she receives this money. So we won't send any. She has 9 of her own siblings who can reach out to me if it's life or death. They send her money collectively as well. Found out they sent her $1,600 shortly before we sent her $3,500. Cut her out of my life. Thank you to my therapist for keeping me grounded and the support on Reddit that made me feel as though I wasn't being unreasonable. Grandma screams at me for political opinion, gets absolutely trashed, by USCR 40400PS. So I was at a bus station waiting for a bus to get the food I ordered, and I was talking about Serbia's next president with a friend on phone, who we can use to replace the current one which was president for 3 consecutive times, and we agreed on the Socialist Party. Then a grandma which was with her, rather embarrassed, family was shouting profanities and slurs at me, but I didn't listen until I turned around and saw that she was fuming. Then I asked, "Are you talking to me?" And she said, "Yes, who the fuck else?" And I just turned around. She was approaching me and screaming at me about some wallet stealing F//S and how I should go lick the Socialist Party leader's cock. I just didn't respond until she bolted towards me and started shouting at me and pulling on my shirt saying that she can educate me on what the president has done and fix me in my brain. I just said, if I am sucking the leader's cock then you're gobbling the current president's cock. Then I left. She was mad at me and followed me until an officer saw her and took matters into their own hands. Still praise the guy who let my troubles with her go.